The house was already breathing when Eleanor Brooks stepped onto the porch, and that was the first thing that told her something was wrong. The front door hung open just enough to sway, creaking softly like it recognized her, but didn't quite trust her. Her fingers tightened around the thin prison shoe bag, the plastic crackling loud in the silence. 20 years behind concrete walls. 20 years, counting cracks and ceilings. And this was the moment that had kept her alive. Coming home, crossing this porch, reclaiming the life that had been taken from her piece by piece. She stopped at the threshold. The air inside was warm, lived in, not abandoned the way it should have been. Eleanor pushed the door open with 2 fingers and stepped inside, heart hammering so hard it felt bruised. The living room looked frozen in time. The same faded floral couch, the chipped coffee table, the small ceramic angels lined up on the mantel exactly where she had dusted them the morning everything fell apart. Her husband's old recliner still faced the television, a folded blanket draped over one arm, but the room felt wrong in a way she couldn't name. Before we begin, don't forget to hit like, repost, or share and subscribe. And I'm really curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. Back to the story. There was the smell of fresh coffee. The radiator hummed with steady heat. A dish clinked somewhere deeper in the house, settling as if recently touched. Someone was here. A low sound rolled out from the kitchen doorway. Not a growl, not a bark. Something deeper and more controlled, and Eleanor's breath locked in her chest. A German shepherd stepped into view, massive and solid, filling the narrow doorway like it belonged there. One eye was clouded and pale, the other sharp and dark, watching her with a focus that made her knees weaken. This was not a stray. This was a working dog, or had been once, the discipline written into the way it stood, weight perfectly balanced, muscles coiled, but calm. Around its neck hung a thick leather collar, worn smooth by years of use, and attached to it was a single brass key. The metal was darkened, the teeth stained with something Eleanor couldn't quite identify in the dim afternoon light. Rust, she told herself, though the thought didn't sit right. She pressed her palm to the wall to steady herself. Prison had taught her how to read danger quickly, how to survive by noticing the smallest details. This dog didn't rush her. It didn't make noise. It assessed. The kind of assessment she had seen from guards, from men trained to decide in seconds whether you were a threat or just another body passing through. Easy, she whispered, her voice rough and unfamiliar in her own ears. The dog's ear flicked. It stepped forward, then another step, its back leg hitching slightly, an old injury changing its gait. It moved around her in a slow circle, nose working, breathing in her story. The institutional soap, the fear, the long absence, the weight of 20 stolen years clinging to her skin. Eleanor stood still, hands open, every muscle screaming to run, but knowing better. When the dog finished its circle, it sat directly in front of her and lifted one enormous paw, holding it there steady and deliberate. Eleanor stared down at it, stunned, her heart breaking open as she realized this house hadn't been waiting empty for her at all. Eleanor's breath came apart as she stared at the raised paw, her mind refusing to catch up with what her eyes were seeing. 20 years of survival instincts screamed, trap, danger, unknown threat. Yet the dog didn't move, didn't push closer, just waited with a patience that felt almost human. Slowly, carefully, she reached out and touched the rough pads of its paw. The contact sent a shock through her chest, so sharp she almost pulled away. The dog's tail thumped once against the floor, restrained, controlled like it had learned long ago not to waste motion. Footsteps sounded outside. Eleanor flinched as car doors slammed, voices drifting up from the street, unfamiliar and close. The dog's body shifted instantly, positioning itself between her and the doorway, head lifting, ears forward, a silent wall of muscle and intent. It wasn't guarding the house. It was guarding her. The front door creaked wider, and a man's voice called out, cautious and confused. "Hello, anyone in here?" The German shepherd didn't bark. It didn't need to. One low, measured warning rolled from its chest, enough to freeze whoever stood outside. Eleanor's knees buckled, and she sank onto the edge of the couch, tears burning her eyes as the truth crashed down on her in waves. Someone had been living here, yes, but not the way she feared. This dog wasn't an intruder. It was a sentinel. The man stepped into view slowly, hands raised, eyes flicking from Eleanor to the dog. He was middle-aged, tired-looking, wearing the uniform of a city utility worker. "Easy, Rex," he said softly. "It's okay." The dog didn't move. She's supposed to be here," the man added, quickly, understanding dawning on his face. "You must be Eleanor. I'm Sam, your neighbor. I've been checking on the house all these years." Eleanor's throat closed. "The dog?" she managed. Sam swallowed. "Your husband found him after you were taken. Injured. Retired police. Canine. He couldn't work anymore." "Thomas," said the dog, reminded him of you. Loyal. Broken, but still standing. His voice cracked. "When Thomas passed, Rex wouldn't leave the house. Wouldn't let anyone sell it. Wouldn't let anyone touch your things." Rex turned his head slightly, that one clear eye locking on to Eleanor again, as if confirming the story himself. Sam reached into his pocket and pulled out a small envelope. "Said Thomas left this with me, said to give it to you when you came home." Her hand shook as she opened it. Inside was a short letter, the handwriting painfully familiar, telling her the house was still hers, that she was never forgotten, that someone would be waiting. Eleanor broke then, sobbing openly as Rex crossed the space between them and pressed his heavy head into her chest. She wrapped her arms around his neck, burying her face in his fur, and, for the first time since her sentence began, she felt safe. After 20 years of cages and numbers, she had come home to a broken dog who had been guarding her life all along. This story touched millions of hearts. Did it touch yours? Let us know with a like, comment, yes, and subscribe or follow for more amazing stories like this.